Every single day, over 164,000 iPhones quietly leave a factory. Not in China, but in India. At the same time, 500,000 Vietnamese workers are making 50% of the Nike shoes you see on the streets. The question is, why? Why are giants like Apple, Nike, and the world pulling out of China? Is it a crisis, a trade war, or the dawn of a new world order in manufacturing? Let's break down Apple's massive shift in production. Right now, over 90% of iPhones are made in China. But Apple wants to move all iPhones for the US market, around 60 million units a year, to India by 2026. That means doubling India's production capacity, while still meeting Apple's famously high standards. But it's bigger than that. Apple's investing $500 billion in the US over 4 years. In India, iPhone production is growing fast, from just 5% to 25% of global output by 2025. And it's not just India. Apple's looking at factories in Indonesia and exploring other Southeast Asian countries as well. It's one of the largest supply chain shifts we've ever seen in corporate history. And there's more. Apple's working with TSMC to build a $12 billion semiconductor plant in Phoenix. That shows they're serious about making key components closer to home. Now, let's look at Nike, which is already way ahead in this game. Vietnam is now Nike's biggest production hub, making 50% of their shoes. Indonesia, another 27%. And China's share? Down from 35% in 2006 to just 18% today. The numbers are wild. Nike works with 98 partners in Vietnam, across 162 factories. They employ nearly 500,000 people there. Indonesia adds another 284,000 workers at 54 factories. For apparel, Vietnam leads too, 28%. China's next at 16, and Cambodia follows at 15. But it's not all smooth sailing. Nike had to shut down a $184 million automation facility in Arizona. Why? Tech limitations and the impact of COVID. Bottom line? Even for the big players, bringing manufacturing home isn't easy. The economic mathematics driving this shift are compelling and unavoidable. First, trade war economics. Right now, U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports can go as high as 54% once you factor in all existing rates. For Nike, Vietnam faces 46%. India's slightly lower, around 26%. That might sound like numbers on a spreadsheet, but that adds up to $328.2 billion in annual costs for U.S. manufacturers. That's nearly 5% of the entire sector's revenue. This isn't just about saving costs anymore, it's survival. And this shift has a name, Friendshoring. Coined by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, it means moving supply chains to countries that align with democratic values and market economies. So now, this isn't just a business move, it's a national security strategy. Next, COVID's brutal supply chain lessons. When China locked down cities like Zhengzhou, boom, iPhone shortages hit hard. Why? Because most companies couldn't see past their Tier 1 suppliers. Turns out, over 51,000 companies had Tier 1 suppliers in the Wuhan region, and 163 of them were Fortune 1000 giants. Worse? Nearly 5 million businesses were exposed through Tier 2 and Tier 3 supply chains in those same pandemic-hit zones. These disruptions accelerated digital transformation initiatives and highlighted the critical need for supply chain diversification, transparency, and resilience. Companies learned that geographical concentration created unacceptable risks to business continuity. Then, rising operational costs. For years, China's labor costs were rising 15 to 20% annually. Add to that port congestion, higher shipping rates, and complex regulatory hurdles, And the bill keeps growing. But here's the twist. Technology is rewriting the rules. AI robotics, the Internet of Things, smart automation. These aren't just buzzwords. They're game changers, helping factories boost productivity and precision while cutting dependence on cheap labor. Tools like Manufacturing Execution Systems, MES, and Enterprise Resource Planning, ERP, now offer real-time decision-making. And those friendly-looking robots? They're not replacing people. They're working with them. Enter the era of cobots. It's a new model for the modern factory, and it's spreading fast. So what's the takeaway? Global manufacturing is no longer just about labor costs. It's about risk, resilience, and redefining where and how the world builds its future. When it comes to modern supply chains, this isn't just about shifting production from one place to another. Companies today are taking things to the next level, using something the logistics world calls multishoring. What that means is, instead of relying on one country or one factory, they're spreading out, building backup manufacturing across multiple regions. And the goal? Reduce risk. Whether it's about operations, regulations, or even reputational damage, they want to be ready. This approach plays out across 4 big areas. 1. Having suppliers in more than one place. 2. Expanding both the manufacturing and supplier network. 3. Using different transportation methods in parallel. And 4. Running logistics through multiple channels at the same time. Sometimes it means keeping suppliers in different cities within the same country. Other times, it's setting up shop on different continents entirely. If you want to see this strategy in action, look at the semiconductor industry. Samsung, for example, has been actively moving some of its chip production to more stable and like-minded countries, ones that are politically aligned and have better infrastructure for high-tech logistics. That's friendshoring in real life. Another big move we're seeing? Nearshoring. That's when companies bring production closer to where customers actually are. And it's picking up speed, fast. Recent surveys show that 94% of executives are planning to invest in either onshoring or nearshoring. And 85% say they now prefer to have factories and raw materials in the same hemisphere as their customers. Even more specific, 78% want production within 4 time zones of their target markets, and over half, 54%, say bringing manufacturing closer to home is not just a smart idea, it's a matter of survival. Why? Because it's not just about saving money anymore. It's about being faster, more flexible, and more resilient when things go wrong. You get shorter lead times, less need to stockpile inventory. You respond faster to customer demand. And yeah, it's better for the planet too. Less transportation means fewer emissions. But here's the real game changer: technology. Thanks to AI, robotics, and real-time data, producing things closer to home is finally making financial sense again. Smart factories today use tools like digital twins, predictive maintenance, and AI optimization to boost productivity, often enough to make up for higher labor costs. But, and it's a big but, not every product works with automation. Take Apple. They've been successful making the Mac Pro in Texas. Why? Because it's a product that's modular, predictable, and easy to automate. Now compare that with Nike. They spent $184 million building a fully automated plant in Arizona, only to shut it down. Why? Because shoes are complex. They involve soft materials, lots of human touch, and variation in the process. Stuff robots still struggle with. So what's the takeaway here? Automation works best when your product has standard parts and simple steps. But when things get complicated, human expertise is still essential. Let's talk about one of the biggest drivers behind this global manufacturing shift: government action. In the US, 3 massive bills have changed the game. We're talking about over $1.8 trillion in public investment, the $280 billion CHIPS and Science Act, the $369 billion Inflation Reduction Act, and the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. And this isn't just money on paper. Since the CHIPS Act rolled out, chip makers have pledged over $231 billion in new investments. We're seeing advanced factories pop up in Phoenix, Ohio, New York, and Texas, built by the likes of TSMC, Intel, Micron, and Samsung. But this goes beyond job creation. These moves are about positioning the U.S. at the center of future critical tech industries for both economic power and national security. But it's not just about federal money. States and cities are getting in on the action too. In 2023, the average incentive package for manufacturing projects? A whopping $75,000 per job created. The Export-Import Bank even launched new programs focused on helping companies build factories inside the U.S., especially if what they make can be sold abroad. Meanwhile, local economic development agencies are offering full-service support, grants, tax credits, training programs, and even help with infrastructure like roads and utilities. It's no longer just about offering a tax break. Now it's a full-on competition, where places fight to win entire factories, not just jobs. And does it work? Turns out, 94% of companies that reshored said it went well. Even better, 23% said it gave them a stronger value proposition and made their operations more secure. And of course, the U.S. isn't the only player in this game. Europe is fighting back with its own policies. The European Union's Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive and the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism put a price on carbon, especially for imports from countries with high emissions like Vietnam. In Asia, governments are responding too. They're launching programs to upskill workers, expand infrastructure, and open up new trade routes, all to stay competitive in this new world of global manufacturing. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about factories, it's about strategic positioning on the global chessboard. So what does all of this mean in the bigger picture? What's actually changing, not just for companies, but for entire economies, workforces, even the future of how we build things? This isn't just about where companies put their factories. It's reshaping global competition, shifting which regions rise, and which ones struggle to keep up. Countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico are emerging as big winners, building advanced manufacturing ecosystems and attracting tons of investment. But for areas still stuck in old models, it's getting harder to stay relevant. The workforce is changing too. It's no longer just about manual labor. Now we need technicians who can run robots, analyze data, and solve problems in real time. It's a shift that creates new jobs, but also risks leaving some behind. And for the companies who get it right, they're reaping big rewards, supply chains that don't break, faster delivery, fewer geopolitical headaches, and a stronger reputation for sustainability. Location strategy used to be about cutting costs. Now, it's becoming a core competitive advantage. More and more, decisions about where to manufacture are shaped by environmental, social, and governance goals. Shorter shipping distances mean smaller carbon footprints. Closer factories mean better communication and tighter inventory control. And consumers? They're starting to prefer things that are made closer to home, with labels that show regional identity, sustainability, and a real connection to place. That tells us something. The future won't just be about going cheaper or faster. It'll be about going smarter, with regional clusters, tech-enabled factories, and supply chains built for resilience, not just price tags. What we're witnessing isn't just a trend. It's a fundamental break from decades of globalization as we knew it. Companies like Apple and Nike aren't just shifting production. They're redefining what global manufacturing means, putting resilience, sustainability, and strategic agility right alongside cost in the decision-making process. With geopolitical risks rising, tech evolving fast, governments pouring in incentives, and consumers demanding more transparency, the rules of the game have changed. The real question isn't if this transformation will continue. It's how fast and who's ready. For business leaders, policymakers, and investors, this is the moment to pay attention. Because the companies getting it right today are the ones shaping the competitive map of tomorrow. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Capital Compass, so you won't miss any future deep dives into the forces shaping our world. See you in the next video.